baths?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. I don't do the tub anymore.
Why not?
I'm afraid I won't be able to get out.
Well, that would hurt you.
I can't climb out.
You know, I've took all the
all
tubs out of my house. I built a house with no tubs. You come to my house,
Really?
take a shower. You don't have time for a bath.
Right.
I'm like Nick Saban. And we're not running a spa here. Take a shower, 5 minutes, get out.
How many people come to your house and ask to use the shower? Does this happen on a recurrent level?
No, I mean guests. I don't want you taking a bath. If you can take a bath, you need to be at your own house.
Okay. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Dolphins fire Mike McDaniel, the Hawks trade Trey Young, and Booger McFarland joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with tonight's semifinal game in the college football playoffs, Miami against Ole Miss in Arizona. Miami is a 3-point favorite despite being seated lower than Ole Miss and having 2 losses to Ole Miss's 1. Miami has looked great so far, winning at Texas A&M and then beating defending national champion Ohio State. Ole Miss, meanwhile, has won 2 games without the benefit of their actual head coach. Wilbon, what would be the better story, Miami winning or Ole Miss winning? Well,
Tony, you can make the case easily for either one. I mean, I covered college football for the Washington Post when Miami became the U. You know, this is, we're not talking about George Myron now. We're talking about in the 80s. We're talking about Michael Irvin and seeing Michael Irvin on the sideline now carrying on. And we know it's authentic because we've gotten to know Michael over a period of years. It's the U. It's Miami. It's a big deal. It may sort of move college football in some direction or another culturally, even if only a couple of inches. But I'm sorry, for me, the bigger story is Ole Miss. Playing without a coach who day by day looks like a scoundrel. Because day by day, there's some revelation about a coach who was told he could coach this place, but is now that place. And you and I went over a lot of this yesterday. I'm not going to repeat it. But Ole Miss, their coach made them promises. The guy who recruited them. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And I'm going to be here with you. Oh, wait, I'm going to take the $13 million and move down the street. That, when you tell people, you're not good enough for me, that fuels sports. That's what sports is all about from the time you're 6. And so I think that is an irresistible story.
Yeah, for the record, you hate Lane Kiffin,
yes,
and that's okay.
I do.
I mean, everybody,
yeah,
I understand that. Look, this is an easy one for me. When I put on my sports writer hat, it has hotty toddy all over it. It's Ole Miss, and I'm not knocking Miami. Miami's a really good team.
Story.
Miami has shown they deserve to be in this tournament, right? I understand that. People at Notre Dame may want to see their doors blown off, but Mike, in any other year, Miami would be celebrated as the sentimental favorite. They're the last team in, but not this year, and it's because of what you're talking about. It's because of Lane Kiffin. There is a chance, well, there's not a chance. In fact, if Ole Miss wins this game, they're going to go into the national championship playing for an emergency coach who was not their coach a month and a half ago, and maybe some coordinators who they recognize and maybe
may
not.
not even know.
You know, and meanwhile, meanwhile, Lane Kiffin is going to be sitting in Baton Rouge, and he's going to sit there like old King Cole. I'm going to just take about 10 more seconds here. He's going to watch his old team to see if they can win the national championship. He's going to wonder if they do, does his name go on the trophy? And a little bit of him is going to be upset and afraid that if they do win it, that people at LSU are going to say to each other, why are we paying this guy? Well, what does this guy do necessarily if Golden can win it? Now, that again, I don't know who's going to win. Miami's real good, but don't ever forget this. They lost twice to unranked teams. Ole Miss has 1 loss. At Georgia. To a 12-1 team that was the SEC champion. Yeah, and then they beat them. They beat them again. So don't think Ole Miss doesn't belong, because they do.
They do belong. The game is irresistible. It's 2 great storylines. Let's move to the Dolphins firing of Mike McDaniel. The team dismissed him today after 4 seasons and a 35-33 record. In his first 2 seasons, McDaniel made the playoffs, though lost each time in the first round. But over the last 2, his offense regressed. The team went 15-19. Tone, McDaniel's firing says what to you?
It says to me that the owner of the Miami Dolphins wants to hire John Harbaugh, as I said on this show yesterday. Everybody knows the owner of the Miami Dolphins really likes Mike McDaniel as a guy. And that's why he didn't fire him when he fired the GM a few weeks back. But does he like him more than John Harbaugh? I don't think so. Mike McDaniel was sort of on the bubble here. He could have fallen either way. Kevin Stefanski, Raheem Morris, they got the axe. It looked like McDaniel was going to be okay, like the guy at Tampa Bay, like the guy at Cincinnati so far, and he finished well. I think he finished 5-3 and had 4 in a row at one point. But you know what, Mike? The Tua situation is a significant economic problem. Tua didn't want to play for Mike McDaniel, said it'd be better if he went somewhere else. Maybe the owner of the Dolphins said, if I bring a new guy in here and we have a reclamation project of Tua, it doesn't cost me all that dead cap money.
Well, we can't get Jim Harbaugh, the Harbaugh that a Michigan man like Ross wants.
That's right.
So you can get his brother. That's the next best thing, and a damn terrific coach, no matter what's happened in the last 48 hours in Baltimore. I'm going to concentrate on McDaniel because McDaniel's got a great offensive mind. That's why he got hired in the first place. And that offensive mind, and this scares me as a person who has a team in the NFC Central, in Detroit, where you've got a quarterback who may wind up in the Hall of Fame one day, and you got 2 great receivers, one the fastest guy in the league, and you got a running back, Sonic and Knuckles, a terrible nickname, but a wonderful tag team. You got everything, and you got a head coach who would give you his blessing, presumably, and let you do your thing. So Mike McDaniel in Detroit scares the hell out of me. And there are other places. There are other places he could go, Tony.
Yeah.
And there's been some suggestion he might want to be a college head coach. But a coordinator in Detroit,
let me calm your fears about Detroit, okay? Because he could end up right here in Washington, D.C.
Yes, he could.
Because he could work with Dan Quinn. Because they're longtime pals.
Yep.
And he can put together an offense. A few years back, he put 70 points on Denver. 70. Knows what he's doing. Let's move to Trae Young, who indeed was traded, and indeed was traded to the Washington Wizards, where it was reported he wanted to go, inexplicably in my mind. Atlanta got C.J. McCollum, a fine veteran guard, Corey Kispert, a fine shooter in return. Wilbon, what does this trade do for each team?
For the Atlanta Hawks, which is most important, it allows them flexibility, economic flexibility to pursue, we are told, through reporting, Anthony Davis, if they really want to go that direction, and they put Anthony Davis with otherwise this young squad that has some appeal to it, right? So that's for Atlanta. Yes. And if they don't do it immediately, they go into the offseason with a lot of cap room, and maybe if they don't have a free agent they can attract, they can work trades, maybe a 3-way trade to get the people they want. For the Wizards, the amount of hysteria being expended over what Trae Young's going to do for the Wizards. You know what Trae Young is going to do for the Wizards? He's going to sit. And he may warm up in the pen, and that may be an audition, if he plays a few games, for somebody that needs what Trae Young can do, which is put the ball in the basket. He's averaged 25 points a game for his career. He can do that, whether it's coming off the bench for a team that's close, not the Wizards. He has no future with the Wizards. It's to set up the next move for Trae Young. That's what it's for him.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with much of what you're saying. In terms of Atlanta, I don't know what it does for Atlanta, except it gets rid of somebody who was very expensive, who did not fit in. C.J. McCollum is 34 years old. He's a fine player. He's never a problem. He's averaged 19.6 points his entire career. Corey Kispert shoots 39 from 3 and gets his points in a hurry. Doesn't have to play. Doesn't have to play a lot of minutes.
Yep.
They're not great players, but they may fit in better with Atlanta than Trae Young did. With the Wizards, I don't know are they going to build around Trae Young?
No,
I don't know what they're building. No one knows what they're building. There's 2 things that have to be said here about the Wizards. One, everyone will say that Trae Young doesn't play any defense. Neither do the Wizards. The Wizards give up 124 points a game. It's the second worst defense in the whole league. So he's going to fit right in. The second thing is the Wizards have, whatever they're building, they have no stars right now. Absolutely no stars. So maybe they have one in Trae Young. Maybe if he plays a little bit, people will come to see him. And that's important because they also have the second lowest attendance in the league.
Yeah.
The second worst defense, the second lowest attendance.
Would you pay to go see Trae Young?
Yeah, Trey Young is an exciting player.
25
I wouldn't pay to
points a
see
game.
anybody else there.
Yeah, but
I would pay to see. I'd pay to see him. Yeah. But they don't, I don't know if they're going to play him at all. Let's take a break. Coming up, we will get Booger McFarland's thoughts on tonight's matchup between Miami and Ole Miss.
We'll also get his preview of tomorrow's other semi between Oregon and Indiana. Yeah, Tone, I don't think he's going to be there long. Other teams could use Trey Young. He's got value.
Well, I hope they get something because. Let's get back into the college football playoff semifinals with our great friend, ESPN NFL and college football analyst Booger McFarland, wearing a shirt from Caves Valley.
We recognize that.
Right outside Baltimore.
Caves,
yeah, that Mike and I know that course. We know that course. Let's start with this. Miami has a great pass rush. Ole Miss gets the ball out quickly. How would you analyze that aspect of their matchup?
Well, to me, that's going to be really the key matchup of the game, is because Miami is really dominated because of their defensive line led by Wilbon Jr., Akeem Mesidor. They dominate, and people don't talk about the guys on the inside also. It's the entire defensive line that's really good. It's ultimately going to be which side of the ball can dictate tempo. So if Ole Miss is in 3rd and long and 2nd and long, they're going to have to drop back and throw the football, which means they got to pass block and they got to be able to deal with Miami's front four. I think Ole Miss has to get in 3rd and manageable, 3rd and 5 or 6 or less. That way the quarterback run game can be there with Trinidad Chambliss. That way Miami's defensive line just can't tee off after the quarterback. So how do you do that? It's really simple. Kawan Lacey. Nobody's talking about him. We're all talking about Miami's defensive line. We're all talking about Ole Miss's quarterback. Ole Miss has got to run the football. Kawan Lacey is going to be a key to this game. If they can run the football, and they ain't got to run for 400 yards, but they need to be able to have some semblance of a running game just to create balance so this defensive line can't tee off. If they can run the ball, they can block the defensive line. If they can't run the football, then they got no shot at blocking that defensive line from Miami.
Booger, to follow up on that, are Chambliss and Lacey so talented that the two of them could lead an insurrection here? And I want to follow into that with sort of which way you're leaning. But with those two guys as the linchpins for Mississippi, I mean, how good actually do you think they are?
I think they're really good, Mike, and I would equate it to this. You know, one of our favorite sports, or maybe lack thereof, is hockey. And you know the saying in hockey, a hot goalie can lead a team to a championship.
Yes.
But what about a hot quarterback in football? Trinidad Chambliss is a hot quarterback. Just look at what he did to Georgia. And I think the combination of him and Kawan Lacey, who led the SEC in touchdowns, they're good enough that they can carry a football team to the championship. Hell, they've carried them this far. So how come they can't beat Miami and then beat the winner of the Indiana-Oregon game? They are that good. But specifically when it comes to Chambliss, isn't it amazing that here's a guy that was in Division II Ferris State?
Yeah.
Nobody knew about him. And as much stuff as we talk about Twitter and social media, Ole Miss found out about him through Twitter and social media. And now you fast forward, and he's on one of the biggest stages of his life. He'll probably play in one of the biggest venues he's ever played in tonight. And he is that good where he can put the team on his back and carry them to a championship. Now, he's going to need some help. He's got to get some blocking from the line, and Kawan Lacey's got to run the football just a little bit. But, Mike, he's special now. Yeah. And it's amazing how some kid this special could slip through the cracks and be at Ferris State. But now, guess what? He's on the biggest stage, and I can't wait to watch him tonight.
Do you have a favorite, Booger, in this game?
For me, I would probably lean toward the hot quarterback because I know what it's like when you have a quarterback that's dealing. I would favor Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss figures out a way. And it almost seems like that the universe is saying, hey, Lane Kiffin, you went to LSU. You chose your path. Now I'm going to bless Ole Miss and take these kids and give them an opportunity to play for a national championship. It almost seems like the universe is setting up for that way, and I'm not going against the universe.
Tomorrow night, Oregon, Indiana, the Hoosiers beat the Ducks in mid-October. Is anything going to be different this time, and if so, what?
I think both quarterbacks are going to play well. Dante Moore didn't play well in the first matchup. He threw 2 interceptions. They couldn't get any explosive plays. Now, since then, Dante Moore, the Oregon quarterback, has gotten a lot better. They're running the football. They're controlling the line of scrimmage. Neither team ran the football well. I think both teams are playing at their best. I think this is going to be high-level competition. I think If you look at Indiana, Fernando Mendoza is going to play well. Like he's a magician now. We're going to talk about him when we get to April. And what we're going to say in April, he's a fast processor. He can get the football out of his hands quickly. He's very accurate with the football. So I think we're going to see high-level competition between two teams. Both want to run the football, but they both have supremely talented quarterbacks that do it a little bit differently.
All right, so we'll get you out of here on this. Which way are you leaning in the Indiana-Oregon game?
You know, we've been talking about this guy for the last 2 or 3 months. You guys asked me about Curt Cignetti, and I said, hey, if you don't know him, just Google him. He is a really good football coach. So to me, this comes down to, do you take the team in Indiana that has the really good unit, offense, defense, and special teams with the head coach that's the master motivator, or do you take the star power of Oregon with Dante Moore, who could possibly be the number 2 pick in the draft, Kenyon Sadiq, Decorian Moore, all the 5-star players? I'm going to go against the explosiveness and the 5-star. I'm going with the guy who told us from the get-go, hey, all I do is win, no matter what. Just Google me. I'm going with Curt Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers. I think we're going to get Indiana and Ole Miss playing for the championship in Miami, and no one, and I mean no one, had that championship game 4 months ago.
Man.
No.
Unthinkable.
No,
Unthinkable, Booger.
Not possible.
Yep.
Thank you, Booger,
Appreciate
as always.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you.
Anytime, fellas. Have a good one.
Let's take one last break. But coming up, a new development in Damon Williams' potential transfer from Washington.
Giannis says he'll never, ever, ever ask for a trade from Milwaukee. What?
No,
Really?
no, he won't ask.
Yeah.
He'll demand.
Yeah.
He'll demand one.
Ask those
You
two
know,
coaches who've
it's
been
different.
fired